Hi, I'm Talicza.
And I'm Rachel, and this is Transatlantic Crime, a true crime podcast that covers stories from each side of the pond. Every week, we will both cover a separate story with a running theme.
Disclaimer, this podcast will contain swearing and details that some people may find offensive. If you are of a sensitive disposition, listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Transatlantic Crime.
So close.
I am recording.
I'm recording. Yeah, okay.
So you're going to be on a podcast soon, right?
I am, although I did have to move it because, I've got that thing, like I said, where you drink one night and then you have beer fear for 3 days. So
yeah,
I was like, so we're meant to be recording now, and then I was meant to be recording the other podcast later, and then I was like, I can't do 2 podcasts in one night. I just don't have the bus fare. So I am going to be a guest on a podcast, but not now. I will tell you when.
Not as soon as we thought.
Not as soon as we thought, but I will. I've been making really good friends on Twitter, with podcast people.
Amazing.
It's a community there.
I love that.
It's really nice.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When usually Twitter is a hive of scum and villainy, but the podcast community is really nice. So
what's the podcast called so that people can look out for it?
it's called T2 Squid. And he has people talking on there all the time. And I said, what do I need to prepare anything? And he was like, no. So God knows what's going to come out of this gob.
Wow. I'm so excited to listen to that.
Oh, I'm going to get myself in trouble again. So what else was I going to say? Oh, this week I have finally admitted to myself, Carly said your smoothie maker is shit and it's just going to end up in the ocean. And I was like, fuck you. Last night I went to her, I've got something to confess to you. She was like, oh God, what? And I was like, that smoothie maker is so shit. I was like, and I would rather poke my eyes out than tell you that, but it's fucking gash. And she was wetting herself, so smug. It's so crap, it cuts up nothing.
Did it hurt your Virgo self to tell someone that you were wrong?
Especially her. I hate when she's right.
Yeah. I think
it's the worst.
You and Virgos and Tauruses, which you're a Virgo and I'm a Taurus, we find it really hard to say that we're wrong about something.
Yeah, because I always think I'm right. And I usually am.
Because, we usually are right. That's it. That's the fact.
So I was wrong. I should have bought the more expensive one. But then that might have been shit. And then I would have dropped more money. So in a way I am right. Let's just salvage that from this. Oh, I wanted to talk to you about a podcast as well, called Betrayal. Have you seen it?
Yes. I've seen it because you've been posting about it, right?
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's just fucking crazy, basically. This woman gets with her high school sweetheart, and he is the most perfect man in the world, and then she finds out something one day and she just comes home and did I say this last week?
I don't think so, no. Okay. I think you just mentioned that it was crazy.
Yeah. And she just comes home and she's like, what's wrong with you? And he just tells her something and it's fucking mad. And then it all just unravels from there. Ooh. And it's just I know people who have had in air quotes, the perfect husband. And then they find out they've done something fucked up. I actually know people like that. So listening to it from the wife's point of view is really, really interesting. It's almost those shock documentaries, There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane, or a letter to my son, Dear Zachary, or whatever. It's almost like that. The answer is so shocking that it's just holy shit. So highly recommend that.
Ooh, I can't wait. I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah. I am excited because I've started a new thing with a friend where it's called TCTB night.
Okay.
Where we have Taco Bell and true crime. We have a Taco Bell and true crime night.
I'm so jealous.
And we just watch. Next time you come out, we'll do it, Talicza.
What friend?
I promise, because my friend Sarah and my other friend Kim now is part of it. So
Dude, you're going to have a house full of women in about 3 weeks. The word is going to spread and you're going to have to start charging entry fee.
maybe I'll do that. I do need more money for my trip coming up. So yeah, maybe. But yeah, I just wanted to tell our listeners, like, I want to know if our listeners have any kind of like fun nights like that where they watch true crime with their friends.
God,
or
I wish
like
I did.
I know, Talicza, like you do, because you watch it every day, and I have to like schedule time to do it. So that's part of the reason why. But like you have this, you do kind of have like a ritual of listening to a podcast every night before bed, right? Or like,
and Carly's into it, so it's not too bad. Although sometimes she
exactly.
does put the carbush on it and is like, that's enough now.
Yeah.
Whereas I would go forever.
That's enough murder. Yeah.
She's like, can we watch something that's not this? So.
Yeah. But so we're doing that tonight, and we're going to watch I Just Killed My Dad, which is a new documentary on Netflix.
What?
So if anyone wants to watch it this weekend.
We don't have that here.
And join in. I'm sure you'll probably get it.
Better do. It sounds good.
It's based around a 911 call, which I don't know if I told you this last week or the week before, but I had this really horrible dream that that I called that there was an emergency in my dream, and I was calling 911, and 911 kept hanging up on me, and I couldn't get through.
But that is such a dream thing to happen.
It is. And there was a point in my dream where I finally got through, and I just like unloaded all of my emotions, and I was like, here's where I am, and this is what happened. And then I just let it all out, and then they hung up on me. So after that dream, I've just been listening to like real life 911 calls where they save people, because it makes me feel better about my dream. Oh, good. So it'll be interesting to watch this documentary tonight, because that's based around a 911 call as well. Yes, definitely. I was going to ask you a question as well, because today I was listening to it's not like amazing, but I think it's called like Couples That Kill or Killer Couples. Like, it's just a kind of in the background podcast. But yeah, I think it's iHeartRadio, and they were talking about a case that happened, and a guy, he was calling 911, but he kept hanging up. And you know how like Michael Peterson did that? Yeah. And like loads of people that like want to be seen to be calling 911, but also don't want to perform the CPR or give away too much. Yes. They hang up. Right. And I wanted to say, like, on Twitter, maybe do like a survey or something, or like ask general opinion. Like, when people hang up on 911 calls, do I kind of see that as a massive red flag? Yeah. I know that they can be frustrating. Like, they are frustrating. But if you know anything about 911, like, you know to stay on the phone until the emergency services get there, right? But also, if you're really in an emergency where you need help, like, 911 is your lifeline. Like, you're hanging on to that person and that phone call. Why would you ever hang up? Unless you feel some kind of guilt, or like you don't want them to help you. Yeah. That's how I feel about it. Yeah, or like they go, oh, I need help, and then they hang up, and then basically 911 like have to get their address from the phone number or the location, and they know that takes longer than them just saying, what's your address or whatever. So it gives them time for like the person to die, or for them not to do CPR or whatever, not to hear any noise in the background. So yeah, it just made me think of like the whole Michael Peterson staircase call where he hangs up a couple of times. And that is what guilty people do. Have you ever had to call 999? Yes, and it was because there was a lady at the end of my mum's street that was like screaming at the neighbours. Like, I think she was on drugs, and me and my mum were like curtain twitching, like
But the neighbours were like arguing with her, but they weren't calling the police. And I was like, this is going to descend into fucking madness soon. So like I called the police and was like, there's like a massive argument at the end of my street. Like the woman's obviously not okay. Like, can you come? So that was the only thing I've ever really called them for. What about you?
I think I have a memory of calling, nothing that's ever happened to me, but like similar, where something's going on like down the street or whatever. I've had to call, I think, just a similar, but nothing too memorable.
Yeah.
I've lived in bad neighborhoods, so like you'll see something or you'll hear something and then you'll call the police and then it's just like, okay, thank you, bye.
Yeah.
You know, like
they don't really care.
Yeah.
Like
not that they don't care, but like especially in LA, I think they're so busy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, someone's yelling at someone else. Oh, okay.
That'll probably
thanks. See you later.
Yeah, when the guns come out, give us a ring. Like, yeah.
Right, yeah. When you see blood, tell us.
Yeah.
But for now, they can handle it.
Yeah. I also almost saw a fight in Sainsbury's like the other night. Like I was just like buying like something and I looked across and like there was the hugest guy in the world and a tiny man, and I don't know what started it, but like one of them pushed the other one. And then like a woman came along and was like, guys, it's not worth it. There's a time and a place. And I was like, good thing you came in because he would have battered the shit out of that guy. Like, he would have killed you.
All you had to do was put one hand down.
Like, honestly, I was like, kudos for the bollocks, mate. But you would have died. It was just so like, yeah, it would have been the most pointless fight ever. So that happened in Maine, Bristol, which is not a shock. I'm trying to think, do we have anything else? I don't think I've got any other show.
So you never told me what you thought about the documentary that I worked on, Victoria's Secret.
Oh my god, I thought it was incredible. Genuinely.
Yeah?
Yeah. Saw loads of pictures of Jeffrey Epstein's cell that I've never seen before.
Really?
Never seen those pictures. Also, never realised how intertwined he was with that guy.
Yeah.
Like rumours.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, like rumours of a gay affair, possibly. I know you can't confirm nor deny legally. I can, though, all over the shop.
Yeah.
Some people like might know this, but like Jeffrey Epstein kind of got his wealth in a really sneaky, random, getting it off other people way. Like wealthy people just gave him money, and it really makes you wonder why. And it really kind of cements that like blackmail element that he had to his crimes. Like there's rumors of blackmail, but there's no proof. But then he's just got shitloads of stuff for nothing.
It's true.
No work.
It does kind of tell you like how manipulative he was. Like you don't really think about his personality when you think about his whole situation, but like how did he get into people's worlds? And that's how, because he was just this like charmer, like a snake charmer.
Yeah, maybe literally.
Oh yeah.
Trouser snakes. Yeah, so yeah, and then I also forgot that Bill Gates and Melinda Gates got divorced very fucking shortly after that all came out. And in my head, I kind of didn't connect it. I was like, oh, you know, they've been married for a long time. I guess these things fall apart. But then it was like, oh no, that was weird timing. Like, I didn't put that together.
Yeah.
So that's fucking weird.
What about that clip? I told you about it before you watched it, where they're asking Bill Gates about how they feel that now that Jeffrey Epstein's dead, and he's like, well, he's dead now, so the truth won't come out, or the truth isn't safe, or something like that.
I mean, Bill Gates is a weird guy, but that's a strange answer.
It's such a weird reaction to how do you feel about your friend being dead? Because, well, he's dead now.
Yeah, they're like, shit, I can't express any remorse or emotion because he's obviously awful.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not look sad but also still look genuine? It's so difficult. to navigate. Like, I totally get it.
By just stating that he's dead. Well, he's dead.
How do you feel about him being dead? Well, he is dead. Yep. That's true.
I can confirm that he is dead.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And that documentary kind of comforts me that, like, more and more and more is going to come out over the years.
Yes.
It's fairly fresh
exactly.
in terms of, like, true crime and in terms of the world. And there's obviously a lot of distractions going on at the moment. Like,
yeah,
huge wars, oil prices, stuff like that. But in the background, I think things are slowly going to slip out while his associates, when his associates also die.
Yeah.
There's things going to come out that they can no longer hide. Like, imagine Bill Gates dies. His wife is free to say whatever she wants.
Mm-hmm. You know what I think?
What?
I think that about Tom Cruise and Kate Holmes.
Oh my God, I can't wait till Trump dies either. And then Melania. Fuck, that's going to be good. That's going to be good. And he hasn't got long. And, well, he might have another 20 years in him, to be fair. But hopefully not.
I think that they pump him full of so many drugs that, like, I feel like there were so many times in office where he just had tons of makeup on because he probably looked dead.
Yeah, they always forgot to do under the eyes, though, didn't they?
Yeah.
Always missed out that bit. Weird.
Or maybe they tried really hard and they were like, there's nothing we can do here.
A bit of light concealer under the eyes makes you look a bit more awake. Yeah, so I guess when he's gone, I think Hillary will never betray Bill. Like, they're a team.
She's got her own secrets.
Yeah.
Those Clintons, they won't betray each other.
No,
ever.
they're like blood. They've got like a blood pact going on. Yeah. But
they've got a deal with the devil.
So there's nothing good coming out there. But Melania,
no.
As soon as Trump dies, she's going to be like, right, I'm writing a book.
Yeah.
She's going to get £1 billion book deal. And we're going to find out everything.
All the way to the top.
All the way to the top. But Bill Gates' wife doesn't need money. So that's a bit annoying. She'll have to come out just out of the goodness of her heart. So we'll have to find out. Who else is there? Who else got involved?
Who isn't involved? I feel by working on that documentary, it's like, who's not involved?
Who wasn't
who's
on the
not
fucking
connected?
Lolita Express?
Yeah.
Oh, Andrew! Prince Andrew. Although...
Oh, yeah.
Fergie and him are pretty tight as well. They cover each other's secrets up.
Yeah, and
she does need money though.
The royals have so many secrets, so
yeah,
that's just tack it on to whatever else they've done in the past 100,000 years.
It does come out though. When they die, it does come out.
Yeah,
it will just take like 100 years because everything is kept in archives, like the letters that they write to each other,
what they do every single day.
Yep,
their schedules.
Yeah. So we found out stuff about like the Tudors and George V and Prince Albert and stuff that nobody knew at the time. So like there was a bit of a scandal with the Romanovs. George III, I think George V, as in the Queen's dad, I believe.
Yeah,
he was cousins with I think it's Alex. Prince Alexander or King Alex or Tsar, the Tsar, and
the last one,
the
right?
last Romanov. They're cousins through Queen Victoria, and he said, "Can I come to England?" And because of the war, it would have looked really bad if we had Russians or Germans over here. So he was like, "No, sorry," and then he got killed.
Yeah,
and apparently, like
they all died.
He felt awful about that. But it was like...
Yeah, I bet.
It was like duty over your own personal desires. So nobody really knew about that until after he died. So there are like things to come out.
What a life to have every day of your life like written down.
I know, right?
And then how would you feel if when you die, like I don't think I have any secrets, so like
I don't really. This podcast proves
what is
that.
the worst that Yeah. I'll just spill it all on here, but
we have every week of our lives kind of documented in a way.
Yeah,
I listened back to an
true.
episode the other week, and it was like, oh, this guy came over, and like, I was like, oh my god, that loser. Like, I remembered the guy, and I was like, ew.
I forgot about him.
And I can't believe I talked about him on here. Even worse. I mean, it's a funny story, but
I should go back. I can't remember.
And you mentioned like past houses that you lived in and like stuff you did. Like, it is super interesting for us.
Yeah. For us and for no one else.
No one else.
All right. With that, I think we should probably get into the story for this week.
Okay. So I don't really know what to... Because, like, I don't know if there is, like, an American version of this, but it's kind of about, like, the aristocracy. So I guess it's, like, rich people getting murdered.
Yeah.
So however you want to word that, when we'll figure it out. But, yeah.
Okay.
So...
speaking of Epstein.
Right? Maybe, like, upper-class murders, or, I don't know. This is the story of the murder of Sir Richard Sutton. Okay. So, this came around because my friend Kathy always sends me articles ripped out of magazines in the post. This was one of them, and it was so... I was like, I've never heard of this case, and...
I love that.
It's so fucking great. Like, I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I read that article... And I obviously looked up something from the Daily Mail because they've got all the goss that they never even fucking fact check. So that's good.
Yeah.
And then I just had to look at the Guardian for another thing. So those are my sources. Okay, so our story starts with a lady called Anne Ramlau Hansen. And she's a Dutch au pair. And she met her husband, David Schreiber, who was a farmer in the 80s. They got married. And they lived in London. And they had their daughter Louisa in 1982. And they had another daughter, Rose. It doesn't say what year she was born. And then they had a son called Tom in 1986. Okay. Anne eventually became a physiotherapist. And David ended up owning an art gallery. So their marriage was a really happy one. But David mixed in aristocratic circles because of his art dealing. And there was a lot of drinking because basically nobody has to be at a job and everyone's got loads of money. And you kind of...
Also, when you go to a gallery...
Yeah, you have a...
What do?
There's always someone with a glass
walk around,
tray.
Drink wine.
Of champagne or whatever. But eventually, David's businesses... He also had like a candle business. Like, he was a bit of an entrepreneur. But both of his businesses failed and he fell into alcoholism. So in 2013, they got divorced due to David's alcoholism. And after that, his health declined and he went from in his son Tom's words, a functioning alcoholic to a non-functioning alcoholic. So he ended up in a nursing home and then he started to starve himself and eventually he died of liver-related complications in 2013.
Oh, jeez.
So this hit Tom really hard. He got on really well with his dad. And due to mixing in these circles, Anne then met an 83-year-old man. She was 66 at the time. And he was called Sir Richard Lexington Sutton. And he was the 9th Baronet of Norwood Park in Nottingham. And...
So fancy.
Oh my God, it's the fanciest. So he was listed as the 435th richest person in the Sunday Times Rich List in 2020.
I love if he went around in the circles and was like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm 435th on the list of richest people.
I know.
What a number.
That was at his height as well, because like 2020 was his good year. He earned another 80 million in that year. So that was in 2020 that he was named the 435th richest person. He was one of Britain's wealthiest landowners, basically. So his lineage can be traced back to William the Conqueror. And like his great whatever grandfather is called Richard Sutton. So the first eldest son is traditionally called Richard.
Yeah.
And he owned farming estates in Berkshire, which is just near my home county of Hampshire, and Lincolnshire, which is a bit more up north. And he also owned some land in Illinois, in the Corn Belt, it's called.
Okay, yeah. Farmland.
Yeah, they probably invested in that when everybody was moving to America. And he's estimated to be worth £301 million.
Must be nice.
Yeah, right. And he owns 7,000 acres of land across the UK. He also had a lot of hotels and properties in London, and he had recently sold a hotel for £95 million to keep himself going through the pandemic. So he rich.
I need 90 million.
I need to free up some cash.
Get through the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he lived in Moor Hill House, Dorset. That was where he sort of stayed permanently, even though he had land everywhere. Dorset is south coast, and it's beautiful all along the coastline. And he lived with his Italian wife and his 2 children, Caroline and David Sutton. And this was throughout the 2000s. But he and his wife separated, but they never got divorced.
Okay.
Probably just pure money issues. And then Richard...
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and then Richard met Anne shortly after that. So he took in her 2 daughters and her son Tom. So because she didn't really have much money, so he took them in. He's got loads of room. He lives in a mansion.
Of course.
On the 7th of April 2021, 34-year-old Tom Schreiber was living with Anne and Sir Richard Sutton in this £2 million estate in Dorset. And he lived in an annex which was above the garage. Now you're imagining a shitty little above the garage. It wasn't. It was a triple garage, right? So it's just another house above the garage, basically. The garage underneath it contained an Aston Martin, and that was Richard's pride and joy.
Of course.
Yeah. Classic British car. And Tom had previously asked to drive it, and Richard had refused. So they don't get on incredibly well.
I mean, I get that. If I had a nice car, which I do want someday, I'd be very protective of who drove it.
Especially when you hear about Tom's behaviour. You realise why he says, you're not going near my fucking favourite car. So, Tom, I don't know how much an Aston Martin's worth. Maybe I'll Google it now. Yeah. I wouldn't even have a clue.
And it's probably a nice, one of the nicest versions you can
fucking
get.
Vintage or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's $316,000 is an average.
Yeah. That's the price of a house in the Midwest.
Yeah. Very nice house prices is how much this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he lived with them rent-free. I mean, he's a millionaire. He doesn't need to ask for rent.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Right.
So, I mean, that sounds like he's a scrounger, but if somebody said you can live in the flat above my garage for free, you would probably do it.
Right.
Right. So,
yeah. Of course.
So he also, he's pretty nice to him. So Tom was an aspiring artist. Red flag. Red flag. So yeah, I know plenty of those. So he had he had converted the snooker room in the annex into an artist studio.
Snooker room.
Yeah.
Okay.
A games room. He converted that into an art studio. Yeah. I haven't seen his paintings, but I bet they're shit. Richard gave Tom an allowance per month to live off, which I think from the magazine article I read was about £1,000.
Okay.
It was while he didn't have a job. So he was like, okay, you want to be an artist, I'll give you this for food. You don't even need to pay rent or council tax or electricity or anything. That money is just to spend on food and whatever you want. That's a pretty good deal.
Art supplies, probably.
Yeah. He also bought him a van so that he could take his artwork to potential galleries.
Oh, this guy is generous.
Yeah. And by this point, he'd also got so fucking sick of him living there that he gave him 100 grand to buy a house of his own to get out of his property.
That's so nice.
I know, right? Because there's so much tension. But Tom couldn't even be bothered to get off his fucking arse and buy a house with that money. He just whinged. He just sat there and whinged.
Oh, Tom,
it's because he knows if he does buy a house, he's got to then pay for gas and electric and council tax. And
yeah, he has to do everything.
Yeah, it's not a free ride. Like, they've probably got a cleaner at that mansion, I would expect.
Exactly, yeah. And a chef and whatever.
Someone who does the gardens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Tom doesn't want to move out of the lovely studio above the garage. So basically, Tom's a bit of an asshat. He would regularly argue with his mum and his sisters, often physically. In November 2020, Richard had to hit Tom on the back with a walking stick following a heated family row over the inheritance of a chandelier because he attacked his sister. So Richard hit him over the back to get him off his sister.
Tom, grow up.
Uh-huh. You're fucking...
That's what we're all thinking.
34 and you're attacking your sister. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So after this, Tom began scouring the internet for articles about revenge and became consumed with hatred towards his mum and stepdad.
Okay. Again, grow up.
He'd also punched Richard in the face during another altercation. An 83-year-old man, and you're punching him in the face when he's letting you live in his house for free.
What?
Here's 100 grand. Thanks for the punch in the face.
Yeah. Get out of my house.
I don't know how. I mean, buy him an 80 grand house and then give him 20. He doesn't want to live in an 80 grand house, though. He wants to live in a mansion. Anyway.
What do you do with a 30-year-old
child
person? That this is teenager behavior.
This is 21-year-old behavior. They're 21 and they're not going to uni and they won't get out.
Right. And they're an artist.
They're doing fine art at uni and they will not get out of my house. So
yeah.
So on the 7th of April 2021, it was the anniversary of Tom's father's death. So tensions are fairly high. And he went and visited his dad's grave. He then came back to the house and he was sitting in the study with Richard, who, this is so cute, was playing solitaire on his computer. It's 2020.
Oh.
You can see it in your mind's eye, can't you? That solitaire that you play on Windows.
I mean, my grandparents do that.
I used to love that game.
Everyone's done it.
It's easy for older people to understand because it does look exactly like the game, apart from the cards are all neat. So you don't have to worry, and then it shuffles it for you. So it's they get the value of a computer. Clean up. There.
Right.
Yeah. They're
get the value of a computer.
They're finally, computers doing what they should do, making my life easier.
Yeah. Giving me a break to have some fun.
Yeah, so he's just having a gin and tonic and playing solitaire on his computer. That's what Richard's doing.
Aww.
So, fine. So then Tom is I'll have a gin and tonic as well. And Richard's sure. Mm-hmm. So they just both sat in the study. And then his mum comes in to the study. So they have two different versions of events. So according to Tom, his mum made a remark about how much he drunk. And he was this is my first gin and tonic. And she's no, it isn't. Anyway, after a small argument, she supposedly said, "You're a drunk just like your father." And it sent him into a rage, and he followed his mum into the kitchen. He punched her, then grabbed a knife from the block and stabbed and slashed at her multiple times, including across her back, which left her paralysed.
His own mom?
Yeah. But apparently she remembers the events really differently. So she doesn't remember making that comment or going into the study. From what she remembers, she was just in the kitchen, making dinner, and she was in a good mood. She said, "I'm standing with my back to the door when Thomas comes into the kitchen. I heard a kerfuffle which made me turn around. Thomas looked unusual. His eyes were quite weird. I would say almost frightening to look at because they looked terribly determined. I received some stabs from him, and I remember looking at the knife in me and being surprised that it didn't hurt more. Then I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe Richard comes into the kitchen from his other living room shouting and screaming. He was definitely alive then because I did see him. I 100% believe he was alive then. I remember seeing him at least making an entrance and talking in a loud voice, and then I don't know what happened to Richard. Okay, so those events are remembered differently by both parties. But then, obviously, his mum is on the floor, bleeding out, so she can't...
Yeah.
She doesn't remember anything else. So then it's just Tom's pathologist's opinion about what happened next. So Tom then chased Richard upstairs, where he was pressing a security alarm, and stabbed him further, plunging a knife 12 inches into his chest and killing him.
Oh my gosh.
So all in all, Richard had about 50 wounds. There was a pause between the attack on Anne and Richard of about 20 minutes, which would later go against Tom, proving he couldn't have, you know, in air quotes, lost it for a full 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, losing it is a sort of sudden act. So after this happened, Tom fled in a 4x4 that was Richard's, after he had gotten changed so he wasn't covered in blood anymore, so he wouldn't draw attention to himself. Okay. Again, that's not really the acts of, like, a crazed man.
Right, somebody who's just, like, done something and couldn't control themselves.
Yeah, he's...
Like, if you can change, then you can control your behavior.
You know you've done wrong, you know it looks weird that you've got blood on you. Yeah. So he grabbed another knife from the block and his 2 passports, because he's got a Dutch and a British passport. Mm-hmm. This is kind of confusing as well, because he said, I had every intention of killing myself. Then why are you taking your passports?
Yeah.
I don't know that you do. Yeah. I think you'll kill yourself if you get caught, but if you manage to get to the airport in time, you'll probably just leave.
Yeah.
Anyway, police arrive at the house because of the alarm that's pressed, and they find Anne, who's barely breathing on the kitchen floor, and Richard was found dead on the upstairs landing with blood splashed across the wall in front of him. The police then went after Tom on what would become a 135-mile-per-hour chase from Wiltshire to London, which is fucking long way.
Is it? How long is that?
Well, Wiltshire's not next to London. You have to go through somewhere else, I believe. Like, I'll have to have a look on a map. In fact, I can't be bothered. Someone else look, but...
Is it like over an hour journey? Probably, right?
Well, the house to London is 2.5 hours.
Your house?
If I drove from my house to London, it would be about 2 hours. But Dorset is even further away, and that's where the mansion was. So about 2.5, 3 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking long drive. Well, in England, that's a long drive.
And stressful.
And when you're going 135 miles an hour, maybe not.
Yeah.
Also, the road to London is always rammed, so he must have been, like, winding in and out of people, like, just driving on the hard shoulder.
Can I tell you... Okay, I have a completely tangent story to tell you.
I'm up for it.
So, you know how... You know how I was listening to 911 calls to, like, make myself feel better?
Yeah.
There's this 911 call on YouTube, and it's this woman in... It was somewhere in the Midwest in America, and she was in her car, and it's like a newer car, so it's like a press button, like rather than using your key to start it, like there are more buttons. And something had happened to her car where the gas was just being like she couldn't slow down the car.
Oh, fuck.
That was her problem. She couldn't turn off the car, she couldn't turn off the ignition. And it was just speeding up and up and up and up. No. And she was going and she was on the freeway, and she was driving through, like, I think it was like Kansas or something like that. And so first she called her husband, and she was like, my husband's a car guy. He does it. He knows everything about cars. He couldn't help her. He couldn't he tried to get her to do absolutely everything, and she, like, nothing was working. She couldn't change the gears, she couldn't turn it into neutral, nothing.
Yeah.
So then she called 911, and she's talking to 911, and she's like, my car's at 80 miles per hour, I can't slow it down. And throughout the call, this like 20-minute call, or maybe it was 40 minutes, I didn't listen to the whole thing, but like it gets to like 135 miles an hour, and she's speeding, and she's like weaving through like huge trucks and cars, and eventually the police like flank her. There's like one in front of her, there's one on the side of her, and there's one behind her, and they're all on the phone, like trying to tell her like, try this, and she's like, it's not working. One of the police cars gets into a ditch because they're going so fast.
Fuck.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm thinking like, are you gonna put out like like a strip of nails to like fuck up her wheels? But then even then, like, that's not going to slow you down. You'd just be driving with shitty wheels.
Yeah. Right. And then you're just like that. You could flip your car. You could, like, if you go over something, or if your wheel hits something, like, you could flip your car and you died.
I don't know what to say. I don't know how to help.
It gave me a new fear. Like,
brilliant.
I don't want to buy a new car now.
Nightmare fuel.
What if the button won't turn off? And the thing on top of all of this was, she's calling 911, and she's like, I can't slow down my car. And right before she had gotten on the freeway, she had just filled up her car with gas.
Oh, great.
So yeah, so she was on a full tank of gas, and that's throughout the whole call. Like, anytime someone new came onto the call, they're like, how much gas does she have left?
Oh, shit.
Because that would have been the only thing that would have slowed her down.
Rachel, this story better have an end.
Eventually the other thing was, so she had her bag with the I think it was like a key, or it was like a fob or something like that. It was in the seat behind her, so she couldn't reach behind her and get it. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I think eventually she was able to get her bag. I'm not 100% sure, because I kind of had to, it was stressful to listen to. I kind of had to skip to the end.
I bet.
But eventually she was able to like press something and then move a gear at the same time, and something like that, where she was able to slow the car down by herself. But
whoa,
look it up on YouTube if you want a wild ride to listen to.
I haven't
for
got
about
the minerals today.
15 minutes. But that's what that just reminded me of, your car chase in your story. Like, imagine not being able to slow down your car and you're driving through America.
Also, I've never driven at 135 miles in my life. The fastest I've ever driven is 100 miles an hour, I think. And that was in like a shit car.
Yeah, it's scary.
When I was like, and the car was like going like about to explode. I was like, how fast can we go? When I was an idiot, you know, and I was like in my like 20s.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so basically they managed to force him to stop. I think, again, it was one of those things where they flanked him with cars and like just trapped him.
Yeah.
And he got out of the car and then he started to stab himself.
Oh.
But
with the knife he had taken with him?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he'd take
what?
He took a knife with him from home, like another knife from the block in the kitchen.
Oh.
But then police just fucking tasered him. So he just fell on the floor. We always talk about how undignified tasers are, don't we? So undignified. And then he was carried away on a stretcher, but his wounds were completely superficial and he survived. So he was not stabbing himself very hard.
Of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So on the 9th of December at Winchester Crown Court, so just for a little fact here, Winchester is in Hampshire. I was born there. I was born in Winchester Hospital.
Oh.
And also I went to university in Winchester. So
right down the street, I'm sure, the court.
It is a stunning historical town, Rachel. It is beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, that's where he was. And he tried to deny murder but confessed to manslaughter. And he also denied that he intended to kill his mother.
Okay.
Which sounds like bollocks.
So manslaughter, was he saying that it was self-defense? Like what?
He's basically saying I lost it and I punched her and I stabbed her a bit and I wasn't trying to kill her.
A bit.
Yeah. A bit. But obviously with his stepdad, he cannot deny that standing above someone and stabbing them in the chest 50 times or stabbing them 50 times is intentionally trying to kill them. He obviously was trying to intentionally kill him. Okay. The trial lasted for 14 days. Schreiber claimed that he picked up the knife and when he heard a voice in his head saying, "Attack, attack," after he completely lost it. However,
I don't believe that.
I don't believe it either. You've been a dick for years. However, the jury heard in March 2021 that, so obviously the attacks happened on the 7th of April, so the month before. Mm-hmm. He wrote to his best friend, James Reed, saying, "Simply put, I contemplate murdering them all morning, day and night. It's not what I want to think about, but it's the truth. I want them to suffer." He added, "I think and strategize every single day about how to best murder my mother and co.
Wow.
That's how bad my mind is at." He also told...
You're James receiving this letter. You're like...
Go to therapy.
Okay, dude.
Go to therapy.
Yeah. Go to therapy.
Immediately. I guess, like... People say, like, "Oh my God, I just want to kill them." A lot. And you don't go... "Oh,
yeah, but if you...
But, yeah, that's a bit more than that.
To go into depth of, like, I seriously think about this every day. How can I kill my own mom?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Go to therapy.
Move out. So, you've got 100 grand, you little shit.
Yeah.
How ungrateful. He also told his friend Fedor, "The short story is, my mum is a gold-digging..." They've blocked this out, but I can figure out what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
It says, "I'm a woman of the world." It says, "My mum is a gold-digging fucking bitch. She is a selfish, manipulative, toxic gold-digging bitch." Sounds... no one sounds more gold-digging than you.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. He said, "We moved here 17 years ago. This is the most hypocritical part of it all. We moved here 17 years ago. This huge house with her partner. She's only there to cook for him and take his money. He's a multi-millionaire. He's never had to work a day in his life. He inherited everything. All property, all land basically around the world. He's an absolute cunt."
Look at your own life,
Get a job, then start pointing fingers.
Yeah.
He also added, "He's horribly racist, horribly backwards, horribly old-fashioned, horribly English. I don't have a good word to say about him, and frankly, I can't stand him."
And move out.
He's giving you 100 grand, mate. Piss off.
Yeah.
If you don't like him, move. Also, he might be, in your opinion, horribly racist, horribly backwards, horribly old-fashioned, horribly English. He didn't murder you. Like, you're a murderer.
No.
Like,
right. Oh.
I don't know. Does that make you worse than him? Or I don't know. Also, that's hearsay, and you definitely did murder him. So,
right.
Kind of not really fair. On the 17th of December 2021, a jury dismissed the defence that Tom was suffering from a mental disorder, which meant that he was not in control at the time of the murders. After 4 hours and 18 minutes of deliberating, the jury came back and said they couldn't come to a unanimous verdict. So they were asked to go away and come back with a majority verdict, which they did just 33 minutes later. So they found Tom guilty of the murder of Sir Richard and the attempted murder of his mother by 11-1. So there was obviously one person holding out. Just to be a cock, obviously, because he's obviously guilty. What are you thinking?
What? It must be somebody who relates to this guy.
I mean, we've all wanted to murder our mum and stepdad, sure.
So it was probably another starving artist.
Exactly.
Was like, I feel the pain. I get it.
I'm just so creative. Yeah. Judge Neil Garnham QC told Tom, "The only sentence I can I can possibly give is one of life imprisonment. However, I have to set a minimum term and also sentence you for attempted murder also. Anne Schreiber, his mum, the only living witness to the attack, which left her paralysed and suffering from a poor memory, said that she was so badly injured that she remained in hospital for 8 months after the attack, and she's unlikely to ever walk again. She no longer talks to her son, but he is said to ask his sisters how she is when they talk to him. So, this last bit, Tom was sentenced to life with a minimum of 36 years, which is long in England. Yeah. People don't usually get that long. They get 25.
No.
25 is the standard.
Yeah.
But I guess he had attempted on top. Yeah.
Yeah.
He will not be eligible for parole until December 2057. And that is the story of the murder of Sir Robert Sutton and the attempted murder of Anne Schreiber.
Sir Richard Sutton, right?
Sorry, yeah, Sir Richard Sutton. That is his name.
Yeah.
Jesus.
What a wild ride.
I know, right? Also,
yeah,
I would kill for all the stuff. Well, not that's a bad choice of words, but like all the stuff he had. All the free stuff.
He had everything.
And it wasn't enough.
I totally understand his, he moved in when he had an alcoholic dad. He's the same age almost the same. He's a year older than me. Yeah. So in 2013, that was almost 10 years ago. So like 24-ish.
Well, you're not
but then
a child.
Also like, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But, dealing with like an alcoholic dad, all that kind of stuff. I get it. But then it sounds like his sisters turned out okay. So
yeah.
Come on, dude. The only answer here is get therapy. Go to therapy. You have the money for it.
He really does have the money. And if he doesn't have the money, fucking Richard's got the money.
Exactly.
Richard will throw any money at this to make you go away or be normal. He's not even chucking him out. He's got every right to say, get the fuck out of my house.
He's doing everything like in a reasonable way. Like, here, I'll buy you a house.
He obviously loved his mum.
You can convert the room to your art studio. Like, do whatever you need to do.
He bought him a van so he could take his artwork to potential galleries. Like, he's not even saying get a real fucking job. He's saying if art's what you want to do, okay, let's do it. Like, that's really sweet.
Yeah, it is.
I wouldn't put up with that.
He tried.
I'd be like, get a proper job, you fucking leech.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. Oh, by the way, listeners, I'll be in Ireland next week if we have any Irish listeners.
Yes.
So give us a shout. And Talicza and I will be on the same time zone as well.
Oh, I love it when that happens.
Wow.
Such a treat. Okay.
It is.
All right then.
All right. Bye.
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 Thanks for listening to Transatlantic Crime this week. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe.
And if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at TransatCrimePod, Instagram at Transatlantic Crime, and on Facebook with Transatlantic Crime Podcast.
Thanks, bye.